Hey y'all, welcome to episode 11 of Create This Book Too by Mariah Elizabeth and Ashleigh Monet. Along will be me. As always, my Create This Book 2 playlist with every Create This Book 2 video I've ever done will be linked in the description. We have 3 new prompts to tackle this week, so enough of me talking. Let's jump right in and see what I can create. Alrighty, first prompt of the week is create contrast. Write about the high point of your day and write about the low point of your day. So when I started drawing this, it was still pretty early in the morning, not quite late enough to have had like a high and low point yet. So I based this off of the 24 hours prior. My high point was discovering that our bananas had been neglected by the children and had overly ripened, almost to the point of being inedible. Almost. Of course, that makes them perfect for banana bread, so I whipped up an impromptu batch. This was such a high not only because the banana bread was stupid delicious, but more so because of how I feel when I'm able to do stuff like that. Like, I don't particularly love baking. It's not a hobby of mine. But when I pull it off, I just feel like primo level wife and mom. Like, yeah, Cody, you got a wife who can bake her tush off. That's right, kiddos. Mommy makes you the best sweet treats, and her secret ingredient, of course, is extra love. Call me old-fashioned, but I like to feel like a domestic goddess from time to time. Get in touch with my inner Stepford wife. My low point, unfortunately, was that very same banana bread. You know that saying, you can't have too much of a good thing? Well, whoever said that didn't know the level of gluttony I'm capable of. See, while I intended for this bread to be a flex to my husband and my kids, they weren't able to enjoy all that much of it because I ate the majority of it by myself. Not all in one sitting, of course. We're talking teeny tiny portions. I just kept going back like every hour or so for another piece and another piece and another piece. And then comes the shame. Oh, so much shame. How could I let this happen? This bread was for the family. And once I start feeling guilty about eating, well, then I just find myself eating more. The next thing I knew, over half of the whole batch was gone. All right, well, let's color these things in with some alcohol markers. Cut them out, like so, and then we can make them a nice place in the book. For the background, I chose a rich, deep orange, kind of like a pumpkin color. Add a little of that orange to the prompt too. And since this was technically supposed to be a writing prompt, a brief summation of everything I just shared with you guys. Ripe bananas equaled banana bread, which led to me feeling like a domestic goddess at work. But I ate most of it because this goddess has no self-control. Glued in my drawings, and here's my contrast. This was on the simpler side, not like there was much room on the page to do a whole lot more, but I like it, especially the bananas, and it's a fair gauge of my highs and lows in the last 24 hours, so yeah. Now for the second prompt of the week. Create a line. Decorate this page using a long continuous line. Let's start this off with a little Ashleigh Monet signature black background. So most of the people I've seen tackle this prompt use this page to do contour drawings, which are those drawings where you complete the whole thing never picking up your drawing utensil once. It usually ends up looking pretty cool and sketchy. I'm gonna do that, but I thought black on white might look a little too simple. White on black though, now we're talking. I did start off with a light sketch. Going in straight with a contour drawing is an easy way to screw up the proportions, and it's not like you can pick up your pen and erase your mistakes once you make them. So I need a little framework. When I did finally go in with the white paint pen, I chose to draw a hand. I thought that would look super cool, and if I made any one of the many mistakes that you can make when you're drawing hands, just keep going over it until it looks right. Problem solved. So what should my hand be doing? Well, if you ask my daughter Phoebe, this is a Spidey hand shooting web. She's not wrong, but I had the ASL sign for I love you in mind. For this part, I really did my best to try not to lift the pen at all, but sometimes, it just happens, as a reflex. But when it did, I made sure to put the pen right back in the same place I lifted it from, so the line is still continuous. Now to finish it off, I added to the nonstop line a little cursive, I love you. Aww. Ignore that gangster lean on my writing. I did one more pass over everything, really trying to get those lines to look extra scribbly. And then use some black scribbles to connect the white line to the prompt. Now, was that necessary? Probably not, but there it is anyways. Now it's done. I know this is one of the simplest pages I've ever done, but I quite like it. It's got good vibes. I could see this blown up and hung on a wall somewhere. And that brings us to the final prompt this week. Create a repurposing. Give bits of wrappers and/or packaging a new purpose on this page. Now I searched high and low for a wrapper to be my muse, and suddenly, this yogurt lid. Yes, it was beautiful, inspiring. I decided to use the shiny metal elements of this yogurt lid to enhance the shiny metal of a car. I chose a classic Volkswagen Beetle. I have an obsession with the old school V-dubs, Beetles, and buses. Who knew? My first step is to outline this little shaggin' wagon. Also, has anyone else noticed that when I complete a line, I lift my pen, and while I'm planning my next move, I do this thing where I air draw with my pen? It's something I've learned about myself since starting YouTube, and I find it terribly annoying. There it is. Ugh, it makes me nuts watching it, yet I still don't catch myself doing it in real time.
That's just part of who I am.
But now that I have my line work, I'm going to use my tracing pad to create templates for all of the metal accents so I can cut them out of the yogurt lid. I was originally going to do all of the metal bits, but I decided that would be a little too much, so I reduced it to just the bumper wheel covers and side mirrors. In the long run, I will come to thank myself for that. I also used the remainder to make a little yogurt lid confetti. I don't have a plan for it at this point, but just wanted to add it in some way at the end. Alrighty, let's color this bad boy. Love that. So I hadn't considered a background this whole time. I think I was just going to willy-nilly do some random colored background and call it a day. But once this was colored, I loved it so much I thought it deserved something more. So I actually used acrylic to paint a whole scene around the car. Again, if I had thought this up beforehand, I could have found a more efficient way to do this where I'm not accidentally painting over parts of what I've already drawn and then forcing myself to go back and touch it up later. But I did what I did, and I added this bright little sky with some happy little clouds and my cute little car on a little dirt path in the middle of a grassy little field, to which I added a bunch of sweet little flowers. So this is just a cheerful little picture all around.
What's happening to me? This isn't dark and creepy at all.
Now to spend entirely too much time touching up all of my lines over here. Cut this out. And what should have been a quick, easy step, gluing on my bits of yogurt lid, turns out it was not easy. The glue wouldn't hold this material. I had to use so much just to get it to lay, but if you touched it at all, it would pull up. So my goal was just to tack it, and my hope was that adding the Mod Podge over the top would seal it into place. But first, juicy highlight time. Okay, back to the book. This is where I decided to use my confetti. This time I tried using Mod Podge as the base glue instead of my glue stick, hoping that it would work better. It did kind of. This piece came off and was lost forever though. Now let's glue the other side in. I love this one. Not only am I obsessed with the car, but it's giving me the feeling of spring blooming, which I'm loving right now, like so ready to leave winter behind. I love the use of the yogurt lid. It really makes this. But that takes us to the recap of the week. We created contrast, writing and drawing about the high point of my day, which was channeling my inner June Cleaver, baking banana bread for my family, but also drawing my low point of the day, which was shamefully binge eating most of that bread myself. Quite the contrast of feelings here. We created a line, decorating the page using a nonstop line to create this contour drawing of a hand, saying I love you in American Sign Language. Sweet. Simple. I love it. And lastly, we created a repurposing, upcycling an old yogurt lid into the metal elements of this cute little classic Vida beetle with a springish landscape surrounding. I love the shine that the wrapper adds to this. It just takes it to the next level. So it was worth the trouble of getting it to stick. This one is by far my favorite of the week, no question. That being said, I had fun with all of them. I like how they all turned out. This was a good week. Thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time, goodbye.